By 1810, the population of Boston was over 33,000. Charles Bulfinch had embarked on an ambitious scheme of urban development in what was now the fourth largest city in the young United States.
And yet, the problems of the Old World continued to exist: poverty, hunger, and disease. With the new century came a religious revival, a moral and spiritual awakening in America. Women of comfortable circumstances, freed by a growing economy, felt it was their responsibility to take care of the less fortunate. Their reasons varied, from simply wishing to alleviate human suffering, to earning a heavenly reward, to wishing to enhance their family's standing in the community through their benevolence.
Boston, October 19, 1812. A number of ladies met by appointment at the house of Mr. Isaac Bowers, number 17 Cornhill, for the purpose of forming a society. Within a week, a constitution for the newly founded society was presented for approval. The preamble for the Constitution defined its mission.
Miss Lane will now read our Constitution.
Our blessed Savior, when on earth, left his followers a most distinguished example of benevolence and frugality. After a miraculous display of his power and goodness, in feeding 5,000 at once, he enjoined upon his disciples to gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. That his followers may have opportunity of exhibiting the same virtues, it has been wisely ordained that the poor we shall always have with us. Though our means may be small, we may be able to do something towards relieving the want and promoting the comfort of the suffering poor.
The vote to accept the Constitution is unanimous.
And so, the Fragment Society was formed, the oldest female charitable organization in Boston that has preserved its autonomy and has continued, uninterrupted, to honor and perpetuate the original mission for 200 years.
The Fragment Society was designed to clothe the destitute, especially children, and to loan bedding and infant garments to worthy mothers in need.
Although Boston had enjoyed robust economic growth in the early years of the century, the embargoes on foreign trade imposed by Presidents Jefferson in 1807 and later Madison in 1812 caused hardship among merchants, tradesmen, sailors, and their families.
The combination of war, emigration to the West, and the rebirth of the agricultural South after the war resulted in economic decline for New England, which would last a decade.
Our director's report of 1813 declares, "Widows and orphans are fast multiplying around us in consequence of our present calamities."
Our 1817 yearbook states, "The Society was founded at a time when the circumstances of the poor were particularly distressing, and it was only then contemplated to make and distribute garments to the needy. Their goal was not only timely but timeless. The nature of poverty has not changed, and there are still too many who suffer."
They worked collectively, as we do now, to be a one-time relief for families in need.
The thinking behind our society's mission has adapted to social thinking over the 200 years of our existence. In 1834, for instance, it was commonly held, as it is today, that education for children and lucrative employment for parents would lead to a stronger society.
The following persons, having been recommended as worthy and wanting relief, it is voted that the following articles be given them. Mrs. Bethel, 1 sheet, 1 frock, 1 petticoat, 1 pair hose.
Through the 19th century, our applicants were personally referred to us, and our members carefully researched each applicant for respectability to assess whether their appeal was truly the result of, quote, an infirmity which causes them to be deprived of their means of support. Regulations and social changes introduced at the beginning of the 20th century brought more requests, this time from newly formed state agencies and professional social workers. The situation remained consistent. Can we provide donations of clothing and bedding on behalf of needy children and their families?
In 1992, a social worker wrote to us about a mother recently arrived in this country whose child had no clothes to start school. She writes, "If only you could have seen the little boy's eyes light up at the sight of his new clothes. Now he can start kindergarten."
Our efforts remain personal and heartfelt. When we give something that is handmade, it is a quiet expression of our love.
We may never meet those whom we serve, but we do know that we are extending the legacy of a community of women who have performed this service for many generations.
Some of our traditions are quite charming, and some might think old-fashioned. We pin a handmade corsage on each new member at our annual meeting.
The corsages are composed of ivy for divinity, rosemary for remembrance, lavender for devotion, and the rose for love. And they're bound together with white and gold ribbons for the purity and the glory of our work.
We continue to make layettes for babies and mothers in need. They include store-bought necessities, onesies, nighties, and such. We first remove all the pins and labels and then wrap each item in colorful tissue paper, so each is a surprise for the mother to unwrap.
But what's unique and really special is that each layette includes something handmade.
Our blankets and sweaters are symbols of the love and devotion of generations of women taking care of those in need.
After our founding, we realized we needed to purchase more clothing for older children as well, and in past, adults. In the 1950s, we developed a special relationship with Jordan Marsh, now Macy's, who offered us a discount and access to the downtown store before opening hours. A new structure appeared. Fragment managers processed requests from social workers, which our Fragment shoppers fulfilled, often purchasing clothing for several dozen children at a time. For a real shopper, this was heaven.
For 200 years, through wars, natural disasters, and social unrest, there has been tremendous pressure on our small society to grow to meet the ever-increasing demands of all society. But I think it's been one of our great strengths that we have stayed within our mission and within the management capacity of an all-volunteer group.
I believe if you could bring Fragment Society members from every generation together, we would recognize each other immediately for our conviviality and shared purpose, and be very pleased with where we are today.
For 200 years.
Amazing. 200 years.
Of history.
Of dedication.
A legacy of teaching social values.
From mother to daughter.
Helping mothers and fathers in need.
Bringing comfort and warmth to children.
True to our mission.
True to the women who have gone before us.
And to the women who will carry on after us.
One fragment of a greater cause.
Of a great tradition.